What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Real Ones Canes podcast. He is Cam Underwood, managing editor of State of the U. I'm the Beast, Brian London, managing editor of this horrible complexion that I've got going on. But it's okay. It's summer, get a little sun, maybe if it ever stops raining here in South Florida, and we'll go from there. By the way, if you're watching on the YouTubes, you'll notice that on your screen, Cam is above my name and I'm above Cam's name. Just pay no attention to that. It's the computer gremlins are inside the system making weird things happen. But
it's opposite day.
Yeah, exactly. It's bizarro world. All right. So, Cam, we come to the audience today. We're recording Tuesday afternoon. And just about less than 24 hours ago, the University of Miami baseball team, much maligned throughout the season by not just us, but several people, pulled off a kind of a little bit of a surprise miracle situation by winning their regional in Mississippi. And I've got several thoughts. You have several thoughts. I will say this. As much crap as I have talked about the baseball program for the past lot of years. Last night I found myself just being a fan and being really happy that they were able to pull this off and win the regional and go to the Supers for the first time since 2016. And so whether this is program changing or as our good friend Brandon chimed in our text machine this morning that it was a revival because Brandon always has to use biblical terms. And
hallelujah.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know about that, but I do know this. It's fun to win. It's good to win these things.
It's very fun to win, Brian. And the baseball program was not maligned because of what you or I or anybody else thought or said. Their performance was poor. Their record was the thing. Their performance on the field is what maligned them, right? That's what precipitated the rants and the vitriol that happened on this here podcast because they were not playing to the standard, right? And then you go to Hattiesburg. Shout out to Tristan Keys, 5-star wide receiver recruit who happens to be from there, to go play the University of Southern Miss, a national seed in their barn in a regional, right? And then you play like the Miami Hurricanes of old, right? You beat Columbia, you beat Alabama, you blow out Columbia,
right? And
then you're one win away from Supers. Now it did take getting their Baines bashed in on Sunday. USM came up and it was, it was the bad side of the ping universe from the aluminum bats. Because it was just ping, ping, everywhere for them and none for us. Cool. But still, if you win 3 games, if you lose fewer than 2, but you win your 3, you have to win 3. You win 3 and only lose 1, you're going to Supers. And that's great. But where's this been? They had some huge moments. They had huge hits. The pitching was incredible.
Some great defense.
Some really great defense, which you need to back up good pitching. There were things in every dimension of the game that looked like Miami Hurricanes baseball. Finally. And this is what you and I have been wanting. And, I was watching silently all weekend. I would pop in here and there. And during the championship game, basically, because, it's double elimination, so both teams had 1 loss going into the last night's game, I was watching silently. I started to say something, and then I think that was right when Southern Miss scored a run or scored their second run. Because I didn't say anything when they hit the home run. It was when they manufactured that second run. And I said, I'm going to go back not to talking. I'm going to be here. I'm watching, but I'm not going to say anything else. But, it was great to be a fan. You're up there and, Dorian Gonzalez and all these great pitchers coming in, and the younger Walters brother throwing gas, overthrew a couple, trying to really, really, really make a statement in the last, a couple outs of the game. But this is Miami Hurricanes baseball. a decade between times to the Supers? No, man. But I'm super glad that we're back. And like, to me, well, sorry. Let me stop. That this year's team has earned a return trip to these Supers. They are not back in terms of, is Miami back in that way? So I wanted to clarify that before people go and clip that and then all of a sudden say, twist my words. I'm still not sold on JD overall. I'm not. I know I saw Griffin Hugis's dad on Twitter said, oh man, you got to be in the clubhouse and only then will how much his players love him and da-da-da-da. You know who else they said that about? Manny Diaz.
Oh, a lot of people. There's been, I would say, a pretty concerted effort over the last 24 hours to really come out in favor of JD. I've seen some people that I don't normally see on the socials posting some pretty positive things. So there's that. And listen, I'm always going to love JD. He is a Miami Hurricane, and no one can ever take that away from him. And I have the utmost respect for him, but I think we all just want this program to be where it was for a good part of 30 plus years. I think that's what all of us kind of want. Now,
before you go on, my only thing, and sorry to cut you off, is
no worries.
Why did it take a losing record halfway through the year to us to finally play the right guys and have the guys who are playing do something? That's my thing, because this performance clearly is in this team. Why did it take such doldrums of performance to finally get there? That's my only thought, but I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, no, you're correct. And I want to look at the big picture with this program in a second.
Okay.
But first, we got to talk about. So Miami's going to go play Louisville in the Super Regionals. So they'll be at Louisville. It begins on Friday, I think 3 p.m. start, and then game 2 is Saturday at 11 a.m. I hate 11 a.m. baseball games. Don't get me started. And then if there needs to be a game 3, it would be Sunday with the TBA time. So that's the Super Regionals. And as it relates to Louisville, you know what? They're really similar in a lot of ways to the University of Miami. If you look at their schedule, if you look what they did this year, if you look at the teams they beat, their record at home, their record away, they're a really similar team. The University of Miami, kind of the mid to lower part of the ACC this year. They finished 15-15 in the conference. Miami finished 15-14 in the conference. Louisville finished has 38 wins. Miami has 34 wins. RPI wise, Louisville's a few spots ahead of Miami, depending on which rankings you look at. I like to look at Warren Nolan because I've been using that website since it started back in the days when it was just all text and there were no graphics. But Louisville's 29 in RPI, Miami's 33. This all comes to me saying Miami's going to go to a Super Regional that they could win. This is not like them going, and taking on, Vanderbilt, right? Or
which,
Auburn,
I wanted to mention because Louisville won the Nashville Regional,
right,
over number 1 overall seed Vanderbilt.
Right.
Yes, by the way, shout out to the 1999 Miami Hurricanes, the only team since we went to this format to be number 1 and win the College World Series. No other top team. Now, there have been some who have made the CWS. There have been even who have made to the championship game. The 1999 Miami Hurricanes baseball team is the only one who came in ranked as the number 1 national seed and swept their way to a championship. So shout out to that team. And, look, in some ways, shout out to Louisville because, Vanderbilt's a buzzsaw. I don't know that we would have as much of a chance to go to, to advance through Supers to Omaha as we do now. Not saying it's going to happen, but I think the chances are increased playing a Louisville versus playing a Vanderbilt. But yeah, it will be interesting to see, how they perform, this weekend. Looking forward to it. I'm very excited coming off of, a Labor or Memorial Day weekend, which is about this time. End of the school year in Michigan was always beginning of June. So you sit down and maybe we'll catch a super, or catch the College World Series. So yeah, this is the going back to the roots and inception of Miami Hurricane fandom since way before I was a enrolled student or anything. So yeah, I'm really excited. I'm happy and I'm pleased that the team is playing the way that they are. There's always nits to pick and things to shore up, but like it should be like this way more often.
That's what I wanted to get to, right? And this kind of goes back to our internal text messaging that Brandon had to chime in with this morning.
He didn't have to, but he chose to.
Yeah. Well, and his point was that this win alone equals a revival. The win of the regional equals a revival for Miami Hurricanes baseball. And I would beg to differ, because the thing that made Miami Hurricanes baseball great, right, is one of the blue-blooded programs in college baseball. Literally, Ron Frazier basically put college baseball, the entire sport, on his shoulders and got it to ESPN and got it national coverage and all of that. Is the key is not just winning. Even if I'll say something really ridiculous, even if they won the College World Series this year, I would not proclaim that Miami Hurricanes baseball is back, because the idea is you're supposed to be basically able to go to Omaha almost every year. That's the Miami Hurricanes baseball I know. Now, listen, is that unrealistic expectations? Probably. But you should be better more often than you have been. And when they are consistently better than they have been, winning regionals year after year, getting to supers, getting to Omaha, when you're doing that over and over, that's when I will say it has been a revival of Miami Hurricanes baseball.
Yeah. And I think that if you win a national championship, clearly you're 3/4 of the way back. You know what I mean? Now you need to make it to supers. Pause, by the way, for anybody who doesn't know the structure of the college baseball tournament, there's 16 4-team pods. Those are your regionals.
Right.
And then the winners of each of those double elimination quad, pods makes it into 8 super regionals, which is your Sweet 16. And then the winners of those 8 super regionals, the individual matchups, they then feed into the 8 teams who make the College World Series. Because I know that we're like using and like, I know college baseball like that. I know I know there's some people who probably listen like regionals, supers. What in the world?
Well,
so regionals for 4 teams, 1 team wins. That team progresses to face another team in super regionals, 8 of them for a total of 16, Sweet 16, and the winners of those super regionals make it to College World Series.
So it used to be, I think, a field of 48. It was 8 regionals with 6 teams. I think is how it was before they put the super regional into play.
The 98 or 99.
Right, exactly. So the format changed back just around 98 or 99. And then now we have the regionals and the super regionals and the College World Series. And when the format changed, like going to the regional, like the first round, was almost like, oh yeah, of course we'll be there, and then like winning the regional was like, yeah, we're definitely gonna go to the supers, and we'll see what matchup we have to then go to Omaha. But for the last 10 years, Cam, it's been, can we even make our conference tournament? Like, can we even get to the regionals? Can we even like put up any kind of a show in the postseason at all?
I mean, in the last 2 years, Miami Hurricanes baseball has played a singular game in the ACC baseball tournament. Yeah, because we didn't make it last year and got ruled out of it this year and won a game.
Correct.
So, and like to your point, even before, it wasn't just making the regionals. It's okay, Miami's a national top 8 seed, right? So we're going to be hosting regionals, sweep through that. Somebody else is probably going to have to come down to the light for supers, probably going to sweep them, if not win in 3, and then make it to Omaha. It's just like, yeah, these dudes are chilling in their apartments down on Ludlam or whatever. They're not going on the road or anything. Like, they're there going down to your favorite place, Chicken Kitchen or, Versailles or wherever. They're going to their favorite little restaurants around town because in one of the areas of the country or in our vertical, the road to Omaha went through Mark Light Stadium.
Correct.
period. Like,
yes,
at every stage of the process. Now it's like, okay, do we make our regional? Like, do we go on the road to somebody else's regional? You know what I mean? And I mean, Miami was the 3 seed out of 4 teams in that regional, because it was Southern Miss, Alabama, us, and then Columbia. Like 1, 2, 3, 4 in a 4-team regional. So you were nowhere near hosting. So yeah. Now, what I was going to say before I went on the structural diatribe, for me, and I'm interested to hear what your response is. So you went out and said, okay, if Miami even won a national championship in baseball this year, they wouldn't be back. Cool, fine. I begrudgingly agree, because, like, you know, the goal is to win. But if we're talking about that annual consistency of, like, set it and forget it, you can stay in your own apartment down in Brickell and just drive down to campus, and then we're going to be here for regionals and supers. If hypothetically Miami were to win a national championship this year, or even get to Omaha and not win, would getting to super regionals next year or the next 2 years be enough to say that we're back or back adjacent for you? Because I think it would be for me.
I would say if we got to the super regionals like 3 years in a row, to me that would be back-ish.
Okay. Okay, I'm with it.
And now there's a whole nother conversation to be had with the dynamics of college baseball and the scholarship situation that we've talked about over and over again on this podcast, and, you know, with NIL factored in, and I don't really know, to be honest with you, what the NIL situation is with our baseball team and how that's impacting things, what have you. But I'm just wondering if it's even possible in today's day and age of college baseball for Miami to be a perennial powerhouse as they were from, you know, the late 70s on through, 2000 and whatever.
I think it is, because there's always talent on this roster. And even recently, you can look and see that talent going elsewhere. Shout out to you, Blake Sear, who said, I can't win at Miami, and transferred to Florida and got bounced in the regionals while your old team is still playing. Shout out to you, buddy, because we could have used you. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't play second base for them. They were like, cool, we'll stick him in left field to just start. And he still was out there hooping. But hey, but wait, my point is, there's that kind of talent that can even leave Miami and go start on a team that's a national, borderline national seed, right? Yeah. So, and if you look at the Yo-Yo Moraleses of the world, if you look at the CJ Kafis of the world, who's up in AAA and about to get called up to the show, like, there's lots of dudes always coming through in orange, green, and white who can really, really play baseball. So for me, I absolutely believe that we should be able to be a top contending if Oregon freaking State can do it.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Come on. Miami.
Yeah, no, you'd have to believe that Miami has access to more talent than Oregon State, I'm guessing.
But they've won championships. They're hosting another super.
Correct.
Shout out. We're rooting for Oregon State because Florida State is going to play them in the supers. So let's go Beavers. But but if they can be a program of sustained success and multiple national championships in its last 15 years, right? I think they won back-to-back or 2 out of 3 or something like that, right? Dude, Miami got to be able to do that. I mean, not necessarily to that level, but to compete at a high level annually, yeah. And whatever, maybe I'm just old school. Maybe I'm just like, okay, well, it once was, and so it going forward should be. But that's like, come on, dude.
I just to round the segment up, because we've both been critical of JD Arteaga,
absolutely,
and that hire, to be matter of fact, on this podcast. I would say the reality of that situation is, even if they did not win the regional, JD would be back next year. He has a lot of supporters on that campus and around it. And I don't know how I would feel. Like, if I didn't know that, I don't know if I would tell you that winning a regional, is kind of upends the past, subpar baseball. But he's going to get an opportunity to come back and And if he can build on this, if there's more consistency, then you know what? Okay, he found his stride. He found whatever makes it work. Fine. I'm good with it. Like if it's whatever, but if we get to next year, again, even if they won a College World Series, which sounds stupid, but if they get to next year and it's another month of terrible baseball and they're, get to the regional by the hair of their chinny chin chin, and we haven't really like made the gains in the regular season that we should have, if we get bounced from the ACC tournament by getting run ruled, like if that's all the same, then I'm like, okay, I might need to see something different.
Run ruled by the worst team in the conference, by the way.
Well, that yes,
like objectively, like by every metric.
Yes, Cal that was playing like at 8 a.m. their time.
Yeah, by leaps and bounds, the worst team, and they, ran us off the field real bad. But I think that winning this regional, this can be a big, big, big feather in the cap for JD Arteaga. Look, you went on the road to a top 16 national seed and beat them at home in a do or die, winner goes on, loser goes home game in their barn. Dude, you were like, we were very, 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 very staunchly the underdogs going in.
For sure.
Very staunchly, like into that regional overall, and let alone into, a game 7, the last game of the regional, which the home team, of course, is the home team, for that game. That's real big. So it's not just like, I don't want to just sweep it under the rug. It's like winning a regional. That was huge. And if you then spin that forward where, you keep a lot of your top talents and you even get some transfers in who, figure out a really great way to play. And Daniel Cuvée just continues to be a generational player, mashing the ball at third base. Like you can make some real things happen going into next year to really solidify things. But like, if and there was a good chance that this could have happened, Miami went into Hattiesburg and it was 0-2 in a barbecue, as in you lose 2 games and you fly home and you don't get another game in the regional, JD Arteaga, I would be right back here, like I said before, calling for his job. But the fact that they found their way through, whatever, hey, you only got to win by 1. And I know that Walters got touched for that 2-run homer in the bottom of the 9th and like whatever, they had a runner on. Hey, you got to win. And he found a way to do that. And if you're able to now stack further performance, whether this year and or next year on top of that, that's nothing to sneeze at if you're JD Arteaga for sure.
If you missed this past weekend's battles for the University of Miami baseball team, you can get all the recaps, all the coverage you want at StateofTheU.com, where Cam is the managing editor. Plenty of articles up there for all the peeps to check out baseball. And then, of course, there is football recruiting as well.
Wow. I was today years old when I learned something. I didn't even see that Craig T. Smith and Robert Weaver were in there doing all the baseball.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff. All right, we're going to take a break. On the other side, we're going to get into some recruiting as football official visits are happening. That and more after this. You're listening and watching the Real Ones Canes podcast. Welcome back to the Real Ones Canes podcast. He is Cam Underwood, managing editor, State of the U. Follow him on the X, on the Twitter sphere at Underwood Sports. I'm Brian the Beast London. You can follow me at Miami Radio Beast, where I may be tweeting about sports, politics, or who sang backup vocals on a 1996 Mariah Carey song. One never really knows. That's where I go to. In any event, where are they now? Trey Lorenz. In any event, Cam, we move on to football recruiting because the summer is now the hot time in official visits. Do I have that correct? Has the calendar shifted from what it used to be?
Absolutely, it has. So this has been moving for a while in the world of recruiting, but basically, with the advent of the December signing period so that kids can enroll early, that whole thing has pushed everything up. So the old standard, even up until about 5 years ago, was really fall official visits through the football season. And then, you would have National Signing Day in February. Now it's really spring and summer official visits, and then decisions coming, either before or during players' senior seasons. And then National Signing Day is now in December, and that is the signing day. Like, there is the second one in February, but like that's just for the stragglers. The real newsmaker, the event, is now in December. So yeah, everything is shifted up, which means that, in May and June, before the dead period coming in the middle of July and August, is official visit season. So we are already there. Had a huge group of visitors on campus last weekend. I believe the full count was 17 official visitors. Most of them were, blue chips 4 and 5 stars, with another 15 to 17 top end talents slated to be in Coral Gables again this weekend.
So, you try to read through the tea leaves, right? About who is most likely to give their verbal commitment to the University of Miami after an official visit. I, at first, at the dawn of the social media age, I'd be like, oh, well, if this kid tweeted about his visit, or if this kid posted on IG about his visit, then we got a chance. And then you realize, all right, they're just sharing everything. So, and they think everything's cool. So, being in the Escalade with Mario Cristobal is cool. I'm gonna post about it. Being at Mario Cristobal's house with the pool with a projected whatever the heck was going on there. I don't even know how they do that because I'm not smart enough. They had like art on Mario Cristobal's pool. Like they're gonna post about that because it's cool. But that doesn't always mean that they are going to commit. But I think we can kind of talk about a couple of guys that I think may be on the list of guys that look like they're going to commit. But for me, and maybe I'm wrong here, but the guy that I think I really want to see them, secure is Derek Cooper, the running back from Chaminade Madonna. Both because he's really good, but also because I always like to see us get the kids from down here, and especially a kid with that kind of talent.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Miami and recruiting is not just getting guys from South Florida, but the top of the list, the cream of the crop,
right,
as it were. And in this class, Derek Cooper is him at running back. He's 6'1", 210-ish. He verified sub 12 in the 100-meter dash. So not the fastest player in the world, but if you're running 11.7 in the 100, you can move. You know what I mean? So yeah, this is a big and fast kid, more of a straight line athlete than wiggle, kind of like Mark Fletcher. He's big and fast in a straight line. He's not going to, dance around a lot. Neither will Derek Cooper, but he was one of the many players who visited last weekend, had a great time by all accounts and reports out there from pretty much everybody. Miami's setting the standard in his recruitment, and, he's all the players that we're going to talk about are national recruits. There are going to be many teams after all of them. So just know that. But Derek Cooper is one, really at the top of the list for Miami. Tristan Keys, again, 5-star wide receiver, number 1 receiver in America, who just reclassified up into this class from Hattiesburg, Mississippi, was on campus for his 3rd visit this calendar year, but his official visit is committed to LSU and that terrible, horrible person who's their head coach. But he does have love for Miami. Miami is fully embroiled in this recruitment. And not saying a flip is imminent or anything, but Miami is in the game with Tristan Keys. Lamar Brown is another 5-star who goes to University Lab in Baton Rouge. So it's the school on LSU's campus. But he's 6'5", 290. Can play offensive line, defensive tackle, whatever you want. And he's elite. But he was on campus. Miami made a big move there in his recruitment. Anthony Jones from Mobile, Alabama, another big, strong, 6'4", 240 edge rusher, borderline 4-star, 5-star guy. Samari Smoke Matthews from North Carolina, who Miami is super high on at cornerback, canceled his Clemson visit to come here this last weekend, which that's big news. Keyshawn Stansel, a huge defensive tackle from North Carolina. Samorian Wingo from St. Augustine. That's a Miami versus those people in Alachua County battle. Brody Jennings, from Jacksonville Mandarin. younger brother of a guy, Braden Jennings, who used to play here. His dad played at Florida State and actually just passed away. So God rest his soul. Literally 2 weeks ago, very tragically. Camden Portis was on campus. There were a lot of dudes. So, Miami is going after most of those guys. And all of those are, firm targets on the radar. This next week, there's another list of elite
a ton of
we're
people
going to get to. But what I would urge people to do is just glance around your LSU recruiting board or your Texas A&M recruiting board or your, these other teams, right? All of these teams want these players, and Miami's getting all of them on campus. Not saying Miami's going to get all of them, but when you are in these kind of battles, these are the kind of players that are game changers, that are program changers, the kind of players that Miami should be going after and getting.
Yeah, listen, we all know that the rankings, be what they may, from whatever service you want to get them from, they could be dead on, or also they could be missing. They could be dead off as well. But you're in good company when you're heavy on a kid. You get him on campus, and the other schools recruiting him are like Georgia, Texas, Ohio State, LSU, like those top of the line programs. You're like, oh, well, if they want this kid, then that gives some oomph to the idea that we want this kid. Not that necessarily Miami staff is, looking at what the other schools are doing for us to select who we want on campus. No, we're doing our own searching there. But, you always like to see who else is recruiting these kids, and you're in good company when it's a lot of the big time schools. And you mentioned this weekend, there's a bunch of visitors. I think Jackson Cantwell is coming back to town basically to recruit, which is always a good thing. But you've got some pretty good guys coming into town this weekend, including some offensive and defensive linemen that you'd like to get your hands on as well.
Yeah, and shout out to Jackson Cantwell, state champion in shot put. Was 2 centimeters short of the all-time high school record, I want to say, or something like that. I think it was the third longest shot put throw in American track high school history. So yeah, decent if you're into those kind of things. So yeah, really great performance from him. Something that he's obviously been doing. Both his parents are Olympic medalists in that same discipline. So shout out to him and them. But yeah, Jackson will be on campus. Bryce Perry Wright from Buford, Georgia. James Johnson, an elite defensive tackle who is from the Gulf of Mexico side of Gulf of whatever. The Gulf side of Florida, who now goes to Miami Northwestern. He'll be on campus. Jordan Campbell, linebacker commit. Several other commits. Jalen Waters from Sefner Armwood. John Tavius Wyman from Jonesboro, both of those cornerbacks. Darion Coleman, your quarterback in this class. So you get the left tackle and the quarterback together on campus. Jordan Campbell, he's a guy who Miami is everybody's trying to figure out what's going on there. He is committed. I know that he's talked strongly about UF and some other places. So everybody just trying to figure out, okay, are we doing this or are we doing something else? So I think this weekend is going to go a long way along that. The one that I'm really interested in from this weekend is Hezzy Kent.
Oh, yeah.
Brunswick, Georgia. Yeah. 6'5", 300-pound tight end. Who literally plays tight end or X receiver on his high school team, who's, usually if you think back to Eric Winston coming to Miami and you think, well, he was basically, coming from Texas, coming from the program, Midland or whatever. He basically was an extra offensive lineman and a couple of cheeseburgers away from having the body of an offensive lineman. Hezzy Kent is a couple cheeseburgers ago from being an offensive lineman. He's a legit, but he carries it well. But 6'5", legit 300, So I'm really interested to see him. And he's super duper duper athletic. I want to see what happens there. Breck College from IMG Academy. Everybody in the world is trying to pick up in his recruitment. Braden Robinson from Texas is tiny, but stocky. When you're 5'7.5", 5'8", like 160 pounds looks, you're still diesel at that size. That kid is quicker than a whisper. He is faster than, he is
quicker than a whisper.
Whoo, buddy. 2 steps, top speed, and top speed is speedier than most dudes. Like, if you put his highlights on Braden with a Y, Brayden Robinson from Red Oak, Texas, he outruns the angle of pursuing defenders often, whether it's a reverse from the backfield, punt return, kick return, crossing route, hitch, go balls, like whatever you want. That speed that he has is a game changer. I'm interested to see what we do in terms of wide receiver recruiting, because that speed is completely a game changer. It breaks everything. So interested to see that. Also, Cannon Pickett is Booker Pickett's cousin, and everything. He should be on campus. And Joel Irvin from Fort Myers, is huge. Like, Miami has arguably at this point of the recruiting cycle the best offensive tackle class in America, with Ben Congdon, a 4-star from Ohio, Jackson Cantwell, the number 1 tackle in America, and then Joel Irvin, who, when you look at him at 6'6", 325, with like 11.5-inch hands and like long arms, I don't know how he's not even like just a 4-star, but like a high 4-star. Like, these 3 dudes, like, it's such an embarrassment of riches. You're going to have to figure out how to get all of them on the field eventually. Somebody's going to have to.
By the way, they're not stopping when it comes to the O linemen. They're continuing to recruit more offensive linemen, because that's the bag, man. That's Mario Cristobal and Alex Mirabal are going to have you some great offensive line play.
And I wrote this 2 years ago when we got the CC Maui Noah class with him and Samson Okunlola. I said, okay, so that was the 24 class. And I said the 26 class, that's going to be another huge year for offensive line, because you're going to lose guys from that class to the NFL draft. Francis Maui Noah, big 61. Why is he coming? There's no reason for him to come back to campus. Now, hopefully it works out for Okunlola, because I know he was playing and then got injured and he's on a different developmental track. But like, to replace what is outgoing, looking at the cycling of things, I was like, cool. I had targeted a couple of years ago that this class, and with the talent in this class at offensive line, was going to be a huge focus for this team. But yeah, absolutely. So, there's already like 4 offensive linemen committed. I haven't even mentioned Reese Woodrow from Orlando Boone. He's not visiting this week. He's visiting next weekend. But yeah, we got 4 or 5 committed already. And yeah, we're looking at taking 6, 7, because, hey, you just tree shake, like, figure it out. Like, y'all hit the field, whoever can hoop. If you can't hoop, then Godspeed and you can go somewhere else. But yeah, I say all that to say that Miami has tons and tons and tons of elite talents coming down. Well, came down last weekend, even more this weekend, and I didn't even mention everybody. Hi, dog.
Yeah, Marley's a bit upset that the show is ending. He wants more. He wants more Canes talk. So we will do that, but we'll do it next week. Cam, it is we're rooting on our baseball team. We're rooting for good official visits, and we will have more on all of it next week. We appreciate you as always. Thanks everyone for watching and listening. Go check out StateofTheU.com. It is the best place to chat it up 24/7, 365, and it's free. So go check out the great coverage that Cam and the staff do at StateofTheU.com. For Cam Underwood, I am the Beast, Brian Leonard. We'll see you next time right here on the Real Ones Canes podcast. Peace.